I hope everyone enjoyed their winter break, holiday break, and they got it out of their system. We're back to school here at Torch, and tonight we're at Mussar Mondays, and tomorrow night we have Torch University. Last night there was the Kabbalah with Rabbi Cohen, and all classes are back to normal. So we're really excited about getting back to full-fledged scheduling and programming of Torah classes here at the Torch Center and all across the community. So please join us, our friends here on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. We are live from the Torch Center on Mussar Mondays. The topic tonight is going to be Emet, truth.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, you're excited about that, I know. So, the first question that God asks all of us after we pass on from this world is...
Did you study Torah?
Well, true. Did you study Torah?
Were you honest in business?
Were you honest in business? Truth and honesty is the topic tonight. And what we want to do is be prepared that when God asks us at the end of our lives, were you truthful? Were you honest, both in business and otherwise? The answer that we want to give is to the affirmative. Yes, we were. Completely honest. To every last dime, to every last nickel, to every accurate detail. Just a quick story to illustrate this. There's a story told about Rabbi Aaron Kotler. Rabbi Aaron Kotler was the great Rosh Yeshiva who founded the Lakewood Yeshiva in Lakewood, New Jersey, about 70 years ago. And one of his people working in the office, when they prepared the marketing, brochure or of some sort for a fundraiser of the yeshiva, so they put together all of the package, and they showed it to the Rosh Yeshiva before they went to print. And the Rosh Yeshiva looks at it, and he looks at the picture of the building that they had on the cover of the invitation, and he says, "Hey, that's not honest. That's not honest." They put in, just to make it look nicer, they put a tree in front of the yeshiva to make it look honest. So he made them redo it because you're presenting something which isn't. You're presenting something which isn't true. And we find that our sages, the holier they were, the more careful they were about every single word that they uttered to make sure that it was true and that everything is authentic and is real and wasn't misconstrued in any way. Right? So now, I'm sure you all have your Mita worksheets, and if you don't have those of you online, you're welcome to email me after class and I'll happily email you one. So we have the Mita worksheet, which is a private document between you and the Almighty, and you'll be able to journal after class, at the last 5 minutes of class. You'll be able to journal your own definition that you learned from today's class of what truth is. You'll be able to introspect and evaluate yourself as to where you are with this trait. You don't have a copy. And
Thank you.
And your avodah, your work with this trait. What practically do you want to change and how you want to accomplish it? And then you're going to accept something upon yourself to actually put it into fruition, to put it into play. Okay. So again, those of you online who don't have a copy, you're welcome to email me, awolbe at torchweb.org, at torchweb.org, and I'll be happy to email to you. Okay. So when we talk about truth, how do you define truth? So let's go around the room here and see what we define here as truth. Yes, what do you think truth is?
Something that is, there's no spin, it's just to the best of the individual's ability, a true rendition of what is or what happened.
Okay, very good.
Everything my wife says.
All right, class dismissed. Ed, what do you think?
Telling what you actually did or what actually happened.
Okay, what actually, it means sticking to the facts.
Exactly.
Okay,
I was going to say that, facts. Excuse me, everything Hashem does is same.
Everything that
Hashem does or it's same.
or says, okay. Everything that Hashem does or what He says is truth. Yes. You pass.
I'll say, maybe I'll say it later.
Okay, no problem.
A fact that can never be changed for any reason.
Okay.
Lack of deceit or dishonesty.
Okay.
I would say that it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the fact it can't be changed.
Okay, so-
But also I would say, a fact that can be backed by two witnesses.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Okay? I go right now outside and I say that, look outside, the sun is bright and is beaming. What would you say? Right, I'm not saying the truth. What's if I stand in the middle of the street during the day and I say, look how beautiful, I'm saying the truth, that right now it is light outside.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to send me to a mental home. Okay? Why?
Well, you say earlier, you said it was.
Well, if it's not true, it's very clear. But if to state a very clear and present fact doesn't really help anybody. And that's not what, when we refer to truth, right, we don't refer to truth as being something which is irrefutable in the sense that, yeah, now it's day or now it's night, when it really is. Right, if I go outside right now and say it's night outside, right, believe me now, because I always speak the truth, I'm even telling you now that it's night outside.
So it's like rationality or something?
So here's the thing. When it's clear as day fact, right, that's not what we're referring to as truth, because that's always true. That, right? And it's nonsense when there's no truth. The question is, when you get into those gray areas, when you get into areas where you don't have 100% proof, for example.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, I just want to say something as an introduction to this idea in the name of my Rabbi before he passed away, Rabbi Beryl Eisenstein. He would say an amazing thing. He would say in our prayers in the morning, and I've said this numerous times in various different classes, so if you heard it, please excuse me. But we say like this: Emet v'yatziv v'nachon v'kayam v'yashar. If you look at the prayer book, right after the Shacharit Shema, we say the Shema in the morning, we say Hashem Elokechem Emet. Hashem, your God, is Emet. And we're going to talk about what that Emet means. God's name is Emet. God's signature is Emet. But then we go on and continue praising God with 15 different attributes. Right? V'yatziv, v'nachon, v'kayam, v'yashar, v'ne'eman, v'ahuv, and so on and so forth. Each one of these praises. Can you please pass the sitter right there? Right, prayer. There we go. There you go. Well, what are the English ones? The next. Two after. No, the next one after that. The red one. Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I've never seen it before.
All right. I'll have to get you a copy. Okay. And certain, established and enduring, fear and faithful, beloved and cherished, delightful and pleasant, awesome and powerful, correct and accepted, good and beautiful, is this affirmation to us forever and ever. So we're saying about God all of these qualities, the first one being true, and the last one being beautiful. Now let me ask you a question. Shouldn't they be one next to the other? True and beautiful. Put them right next to each other. Instead, they're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. So my rabbi said, usually what's true is not beautiful. And what's beautiful is usually not true. Think of any politician. Right? They use the most beautiful, eloquent words. They say the nicest things. But we know that it's very far from the truth. And then when you have a politician or a non-politician who says things that are truthful, oh, they're not nice, they're not beautiful, they're not packaged. Right? And people don't like it because it's not beautiful. Okay? And that's part of one of the important components we're going to have to understand in identifying truth is that truth is not always going to be the beautiful solution. It's not always going to be the beautiful option. You're not always going to be able to package it. Sometimes the truth is going to have to be hard in your face. Right? Honesty doesn't come with bows on it. Yes.
I'm just thinking of purity. That was my thinking when
Right,
I
but
said truth.
right, and you're right with purity. The problem with purity is that sometimes we say, you know what, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I want to be, in the sense of being pure, that I feel bad for someone, so I'm going to cover up that truth. You know, people say, people who have been in terrible health situations, they tell the doctors, just tell it to me straight. Right? Tell it to me straight. Why? You know, because the doctors, they don't want to make you feel bad. They don't want to hurt you. They don't want you to be worried and concerned, right? So they start, you know, just tell it to me straight. And God forbid, none of us should ever know of any illness. Amen. And none of us should ever have to see any doctors, right? We should live long and happy, healthy lives.
Amen.
But the idea that truth doesn't always come packaged nicely. Truth is sometimes straight, to the point, fact. This is the way it is, take it or leave it. Yes?
Okay, well, beautiful wasn't the only attribute either. So,
True.
so was there something kind of like in there that was sort of dirty, or I don't know?
No, they're all great qualities. They're all great qualities.
There's nothing that contradicts truth in that, I mean, beauty in that description. I don't know.
No, these are all great qualities, wonderful qualities that the Almighty possesses. Obviously, the Almighty possesses all the qualities in perfection. Right? But the question was, why wouldn't truth and beauty be one next to the other? And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. Not always. Usually not. Usually not. So we have to understand that right away from the onset, we have to understand that truth is not always going to be pleasant. Truth is not always going to be pleasant. Sometimes you're going to say the truth both from the person who hears it and both from the person who says it. Right? Did you or did you not take that candy? You ask your child, right? Well, he doesn't want to say, yes, I did, after you told him not to, but that's the truth. It's going to be painful for him to say it. But he's going to have to say the truth. And the truth is not always beautiful. It's not always beautiful. It's not always pretty. It's not going to always be easy to say the truth. But that's what we're trying to work on today. You know, there's an interesting story. We all like to be seen in the most beautiful way. Always, right? We like to present ourselves. Don't introduce me. Let me do my own introduction. And we like to embellish, and we like to, right? And we like to you know, we like to exaggerate, which is another form of, right? Okay, we'll talk about white lies and exaggerations and all those things soon. But there's a story told about the great man of truth, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky was once being interviewed back in Europe. I believe the story was back in Europe. He was being interviewed for a position of a rabbi for a synagogue. And the rabbi who was soon going to retire, the rabbi soon to be emeritus, met with him prior to his interview, prior to his probe. And he says to him, what are you planning to say? He tells him the devar that he's going to say from the pulpit that Shabbos. And the rabbi says to him, if you say this, you got the job. You got it. So comes Shabbos morning, and Rabbi Kamenetsky says a different speech completely. And he didn't get the job. So the rabbi says to him, what's wrong with you? I told you, just say that and everything will be fine. You'll get the job. Why didn't you? Why did you change the program? Why did you change the speech? He said, because I thought about it. That speech that I prepared and told you earlier was a speech that I took many weeks to prepare. So it was perfectly packaged. It was ready to go. He says, but what are they interviewing me? They're not interviewing me to see a speech I'm going to be able to package for 4 weeks. They're interviewing me to see a speech, a discourse that I'm going to be able to deliver every few days for Shabbos. with a lot less time of preparation. So it wouldn't be honest for me to give a well-packaged, 4-week prepared speech when what they really want to see is what they're going to get every week. So I gave them a speech which is comparable to what they're going to get every week. It's not good enough, so I won't get the job. That's a man of truth, yes.
What if you speak truth, but it's Lashon Hara? You can't do that.
So we'll talk about Lashon Hara. We have to talk about it in a completely different vein. But when you're speaking, well, here's the
Like,
thing.
I know this guy.
Lashon Hara. Let me just get into it quickly, very quickly out. Okay.
Okay.
Lashon Hara means saying the truth about someone else. When you're saying something which is not true about someone else, it is called motzi shemra.
It's slant.
It's slant. It's putting a bad name about someone else out there. So if I come to you and I say, "Hey, did you hear about him?" Right? And it's true, that's Lashon Hara. If it's not true, it's not Lashon Hara, it's motzi shemra.
Right.
All right? So people say, "Well, what's wrong with me saying it? It's true." Well, because it's true, it's a problem. All right? And that's why, right, even if it's not true, obviously, the best thing is don't talk about other people.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into this. We'll talk about it when we talk about speech.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the trait of proper speech. We're going to talk about that. Yes.
It's not Lashon Hara if you're talking to the person himself.
To the person himself, no.
Right.
No. But
Because we learned
It's-
that if you destroy a person's character, that's like murdering.
that's correct. That's correct.
That's a very
That's correct.
serious.
It's a very serious thing.
you know.
Yeah. So the general rule is don't talk about other people. There's nothing good that comes out of talking about other people. Right? Even if you try to say positive things about other people, what ends up happening is there's somebody else in the room who says, "Oh yeah? Well, you never did business with them. That's why you're saying that," right? And then before you know it, it spirals out of control. Okay. So the first question that's asked of us, did we execute business with honesty? Did we do things with honesty? Now, we know just a few weeks ago, last week, 2 parshas that we read ago, right? We read about Yehuda and Tamar. And Yehuda was confronted with a dilemma. Did you or did you not be with this woman, Tamar? Well, you know what? It really wasn't pleasant. It really wasn't a beautiful thing for him to be able to say about himself that he was with this woman. But what is the truth?
Yes.
Yes. That's why we are called Yehudim. Yehuda was because he's modeh. He gave what that means to be. I'm losing it. Sorry, but it means to agree or to be. What's that? No. Yehuda means he affirmed the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. It wasn't pleasant. It's not always pleasant. But again, that's the truth, so that's what it is. We are called Yehudim because of Yehuda. We're called Jews because of Judah. That was Judah's trait. His trait was, yes, we need to be honest. We need to be straightforward when it comes to things that we're challenged with. Did you not? Honesty is honesty. We have to say the truth, even if it's unpleasant. Could be that, they say that your strength is your weakness. Right? A person's strength is their weakness. Their weakness is their strength. So someone who cares a lot about other people, that's their qualities, that they care about other people, but their flaw is that they care too much about other people. Right? So they don't have time for themselves. Right? Someone whose truth is their quality, truth is also their flaw. Why? Because they don't know how to say anything nice to people. They're just busy saying the truth. Right? So it's very tough to be in their company. Because all you hear is the truth. And the people don't like to hear the truth. They like to hear niceties. Yes?
Well, there's 2 types of truth you're talking about. One is the truth that you feel about another person. The other is the truth about yourself.
Okay, so we'll see that it doesn't make a difference because the way in which a person acts when it comes to truth is the way they will act the same, hopefully the same way with themselves, right? When someone has this trait of truth, it supersedes everything else. It's meaning, what do I mean supersedes? It is their trait. If that's their trait, then they may want to also be nice, but truth is truth, and I can't massage it.
How you treat yourself is how you treat others.
Not always. Not always.
Not
Well, in general.
Right.
So,
Well, you should. We should.
Yeah.
If you should, if you're able,
Somebody is really hard on someone else.
but not hard on themselves.
Generally, they're pretty hard on themselves.
Well,
Generally.
Sometimes it's the opposite.
It's not always.
I disagree.
well, well. Here's the thing. We're going to talk about this as well. But there's a trait called flattery, and flattery is when a person is won by mouth and won by heart, right? Meaning, I say something, but I don't mean that. I just want to make you feel good, right? So I'm going to say something nice to you, but really I go around and say, you see that guy right there? So I say something, hey, it's so nice to see you. I wish he wasn't here, right? That's two-faced and that's dishonest. A person has to be inside what they are outside. That's also a truth that hopefully we'll have some time to get to.
But
Yes.
the truth could also be concealed. You don't have to lie, but it can be concealed.
Right, and we see that many times. Look, we see with the tribes. The tribes, what did they do with Jacob? They sent the garment, the tunic of Joseph to the father, to Jacob, and he says, "Oh, it must be that an animal killed him." I'm not denying. I'm not right. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. They didn't. They just let him believe his false. There's a term for that in law. Richie, thank you for joining us. I know you're. Please tell me, what does it mean? I don't deny or affirm. There's a term for it in law.
Abstention?
Well, maybe it's abstention. Hopefully. Hopefully,
if you
Richie
have
will.
both the trait of kindness and the trait of truth, you just have to know when to keep your mouth shut.
Correct. And that's difficult. It's very difficult to know. So now, I want to. Now it's going to be reversed for the people online. So I'm sorry, but reverse the screen for yourself, and maybe you'll be able to see it. Don't look at it upside down. But the word for truth, is it in the screen? Yes. Is Emet. The word for truth is Emet. Aleph, Mem, Taf. The word for falsehood is Sheker. Okay? Now, there's something amazing that they teach in all day schools when children are very, very young. Right? I remember learning this when I was very young as well. And if you look at the difference between this is truth and this is false, falsehood. The truth, each letter of Emet has two legs. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Sheker, each of these letters have one leg.
One leg is thin.
Okay? It will, Sheker ultimately will always fall. It will always fall at the end. Truth may take time for people to notice it. It may go through a battle, but at the end, truth stands.
So
Truth
that's probably where the
will-
statement comes in English when people say, you don't have a leg to stand on.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You're not right.
Yeah.
Right, but there's something else that I want to point out here, okay? Is that if you take a look at Aleph, Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet. Okay? Taf is the last letter of the alphabet. And Mem is the middle letter of the alphabet. Right? So if you line up all of the letters of the alphabet, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, right? It's all the way down till Taf. So Aleph and Taf are the two ends of the Hebrew alphabet, and Mem is in the middle. Okay? Whereas if you take Sheker, they're all at the end, right? Kuf, Resh, Shin, and then Taf. They're all at the end, and it tips the scale. Right? Eventually, it will all fall apart.
Yeah,
A
Rabbi-
lie you can only keep for that long.
Rabbi Siegel would say the same thing. He would say basically everything you have to say is true because it covers the whole alphabet.
There you go, from beginning. That's right, very good. So we mentioned like this. Emet, truth, is the name of Hashem. The first, middle, and last letters of the alphabet are Aleph, Mem, and Taf. And these three letters have two legs. They can stand forever and ever. Truth is irrefutable. Truth doesn't have it's not something which is adjustable that you can play games with. It is or it isn't. You know, there's a country that tried to do their transportation system through an honor system. We're not going to collect your money, right? We trust that you will pay the money. Do you know that country lost 5 million euros because of that system, right?
Sweden?
No, Germany, actually.
That's why.
Yeah, can you believe it? Right.
Yeah.
They're so honest.
Well, there was also
What's that?
there was also a study done on people. I think at a supermarket where they said just pay what you think
What do you think
it's worth,
and
and they ended up paying maybe 1/10 of
what it was really worth? Yeah.
It was very very interesting.
Turkey.
Yeah, it's more $2.
Yeah, so so like this. So, but it's interesting because if you look at there are buses in Jerusalem. There are some buses. I remember back they were trying to get them started. They didn't get them started. They did get them that you had the men getting on the bus in the front, the women getting on the back. But the problem is you don't have a driver in the back. So who's going to take the money? The people would punch their own tickets as they came. And they said that there was a very, 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 very low. It wasn't 100%, but it was about 98% of honesty where people, when they came on the bus, I remember, even if it wasn't the case, you go on Friday, you go on a bus in Israel, people go on all the doors, right? They go on all the doors because, it's like there's no room coming in the front, so people go on the back doors. Are they going to go out without paying? No. You have these people passing up the ticket, pass it up to the driver, pass it up, gets to the driver punches it, sends it back. It goes all the way back to the end of the bus, right? Honesty is honesty, right? You don't get on a bus and without paying, okay? So, there's a prayer that we say, V'taher libenu le'ovdecha be'emet. Purify our heart so that we serve you with truth. What we ask for is we want to serve God with truth. Now, think about this for a second. Let's think about, you can talk about any religious experience that you have. Any religious experience that you have. Think about how you would do that experience in front of a king. So think of prayer, right? Right. I want to pray to the Almighty the way I would pray to a king, if I pray to a king, right? But even if I went to go meet a king or a president or a mayor, what would I do? I wouldn't say, you know what? I just finished working out. I'll just run over to the White House, say hello, right? And then, would anyone do that? No, of course not. What would we do? We'd get dressed in nice clothes. We'd prepare our words. What are we going to say? How are we going to say it? But yet, when we come to pray, how do we come to pray? So we say, yeah, we're about to stand in front of God. We're talking, we're praying. We even go over to other people and say, shh, right? Why are you talking to shul? Shh, right? We're so genuine, so sincere. But then we don't even prepare. We don't even know who we're talking to. So we say when we serve God, we want to serve God with truth. With truth. Meaning, not just the words that we say, but in the way that we act, in the way that we think. Yes, I'm actually standing in front of a creator of heaven and earth. Do we actually feel that way? Right? I remember back in the yeshiva, when I was in yeshiva, so we were singing a song, Ano Avdo de Kucha Bricho. We are the servants of the Almighty God. It's a song. It's a song people sing on Simchat Torah, but sing people regularly. It was a regular Shabbos. And I remember one of my friends sitting next to me says, "Do you realize what we're saying? We're servants of God. Do we really think we're servants? Right? Do we really think we're servants? Or we do whatever we need to do to just quiet our conscience." Now, a person needs to really know: Am I really doing this because I feel like I'm a servant? So 1 second, am I picking and choosing what I'm a servant about? Or am I a servant in every area? What's the truth? And a person has to live with that truth. Do I really feel like God created me and gave me this opportunity in life? Well, if He did, if I do feel that way, then am I maximizing every opportunity? Le'ovdecha be'emet, to love God, to serve God with truth. With truth. Truth in every area of life. Not just when it's comfortable. Not just when it's pious and everyone sees, oh wow, look at them, they're serious, huh? Right? Right, but then we can live a different life when we're elsewhere. Truth means that it's not bendable. Right? My rabbi would say, there's a word which is called amok, which means deep. And when students learn in yeshiva, right, they like to learn deep into an idea. My rabbi always used to warn us. He says you have to be careful. He says, if you take a pail of water, right, and you put a ruler into it, right? So let's say it's 10 inches of water. So you put the ruler in, right, and it reaches up to how far in?
10 inches.
10 inches, right? But what's if you wanted to get to say, I wanted to show that it says 12 inches, right? So you have a couple of options. You can bend it, right? You can bend your ruler, and then it'll fit, right? See, he says, amok, which means deep, is also the same letters as akum, which means crooked. You have to be very careful that you go deep straight. You don't go deep by being crooked. Right? You just bend the ruler, now it's deeper. We have to be so careful because truth is not something bendable. Truth is not something, well, today I'm in the mood of truth, so today it's going to be truth, but tomorrow it can be, I can adjust it. Or the truth has many variations of the truth. If I really want to serve and be truthful in every area of life, that truth needs to follow. All right? Is this part clear here? Are we good? Yes.
No, I understand what you're saying about truth, but I do think we're inconsistent.
Oh, right. So that's why we're here tonight.
Well, I mean,
That's exactly why we're here. We're here tonight because we all have those inconsistencies. We all have those inconsistencies, and what we want to do is say, you know what? I'm not going to only be truthful here, I'm going to also be truthful here. I'm going to also be truthful everywhere. Okay? It's not only, well, when I'm under oath, I'll say the truth, but when I'm not under oath, well, who's going to tie me down to that truth? I'm going to tie me down to that truth.
no, but what I'm saying is being inconsistent is part of being a human. So we're trying to minimize that.
Well, I would say that being inconsistent isn't part of being a human, is part of being a human who's not on top of their consistency and ensuring. But again, our goal is to be God-like. God is absolute truth. It's not flavor of the month truth. It's real, honest, brutal truth. Right?
That's the difference between the truth of society or culture and just Emet. Because whether it's God's truth or the actual truth that someone is speaking to someone, that never changes. Like you're saying, the flavor.
It's irrefutable. Right. So I want to put something else to this, is that the Torah doesn't tell us any place not to lie. Do you know that? Do you know that it doesn't say any place in the Torah?
One place
It says
What does it say?
distance
You can
yourself.
Distance yourself from something of falsehood. Right? Midvar sheker tirchak. From something of falsehood, distance
No,
yourself.
but you can lie in order to preserve.
Okay, right. That's true. The Talmud says that you're allowed to lie. Right, but that's something we'll have to get into
That's a whole different
exactly. We have to be very careful about that. Because guess what? then we can lie about everything, because I didn't want the police officer to be upset, so I lied. I didn't want I didn't want my wife to be upset at me, so I lied.
Long-term piece.
Right, okay. So we have to be very careful about how we use that. And the Talmud gives us a few examples of where it's applicable, but not in every area, obviously. But why does the Torah tell us very clearly? The Torah doesn't tell us, the Torah does not tell us at any point, do not lie. But rather it says, midvar sheker tirchak, from something of falsehood, keep a distance. So why doesn't it? So let's go back to our original teaching that we learned from Bible Crash Course. We said the Torah doesn't tell us anything that's obvious. Because something that's obvious, it's common sense, you don't need the Torah to tell you that. It's common sense, you don't lie. So the Torah doesn't need to tell us that. So what does the Torah need to tell us? Midvar sheker, something which is of falsehood, something which is in the realm of falsehood, that also keep away from. Because that you would say, you know what, it's not an actual lie, it's not black and white lie, it's a white lie. Midvar sheker tirchak. To tell you black and white lie, the Torah doesn't need to tell you common sense, that you have a brain for. The Torah doesn't tell you, do you know that there's not a mitzvah in the Torah which is common sense? The Torah doesn't tell us anything duplicitous. There's nothing that the Torah tells us that is just a given, obvious. Everybody knows that. Nothing in the entire Torah. The only thing the Torah tells us is things that with common sense we would not know. That we need the Torah to tell us. To tell you not to lie, the Torah doesn't need to tell you not to lie. The Torah doesn't either say, by the way, only say the truth. The Torah doesn't need to tell you that because it's common sense. But what does the Torah tell us? It makes a lot of sense now. Anything in the realm of falsehood, tirchak, distance yourself. Don't. It smells not kosher, leave. Run. Don't have anything to do with it. Okay? Anything that can get into the realm of dishonesty, we have to keep ourselves clean of. Right? We say, one of the things we say is Niki chapayim uvar levav. A person has to be clean. Clean their hands. Clean your hands of anything, right? That has a scent of dishonesty. Uvar levav is something who's pure of heart. Right? I guarantee you. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard the story of one of these infamous Jewish business people who took investments from organizations and personal and private people and ended up being indicted for stealing $60 billion in a Ponzi scheme. Unfortunately, he was also Jewish. Mr. Ponzi, had he known that someone like this would come, would have said, take his name, right? Because Mr. Ponzi did it, I think, on 20 million, right? And here this guy did it on $60 billion. He cheated people. I guarantee you that he never set out on a mission of stealing that much money. I guarantee you also that the way it started was cheating just 60 cents on taxes. And then cheating $60, and then cheating $6,000, and then cheating $60,000, and $600,000, and $6 million, and $600 million, until it got to $60 billion. It's because when you allow a little bit of dishonesty in, where are you going to stop it? Torah says run away. Run away from dishonesty. Run away if it even smells dishonest. Run. Tirchak. Distance yourself. Okay? Okay, so is it honest or truthful for us to be standing at prayer? Just a question, okay? Is it honest or truthful to be standing in prayer? You're standing in synagogue and you're going like this, and you're reading the words from your siddur, and you're thinking about your upcoming vacation, and you're thinking about, I have to call that person back, and I have to remember to follow up on that lead, and I have to close that deal, make sure I send that contract, And yeah. Right, exactly. And all of these things we're thinking about, is that being truthful to God? Is that being truthful to ourselves? So I want to share with you an idea. I don't have any proof to this. But it's an idea that I've been trying to work on getting to substantiating this idea. And that is, when we cheat and when we lie, we're actually cheating ourselves and lying to ourselves. We think we're tricking other people. We're trying, right? We're trying to embellish. What we're really doing is lying to ourselves. And we're allowing ourselves. The problem is, there was a great TED Talk that I watched a little while ago. I don't remember much. I have to watch it again. But the lecturer said an incredible idea. They said the only reason people lie to you is because you allow them to lie to you. If you didn't allow them to lie, they wouldn't lie. I mean, think about that. It's a great idea. Someone says something which is a half truth, and we're like, "Oh, they're probably saying, they're lying to you," but you don't want to stand and say it, right? You don't want to be firm. You don't want to. I want it to be beautiful, right? Again, when you have truth and you have beauty, they're usually not one near each other. They're usually on the opposite sides.
Would political correct be more beautiful?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because look, political correctness today is I think one of the biggest downfalls of our society. In that honesty is already frowned upon, right? Mm-hmm. You just need to say it nicely. Mm-hmm. It's all about how you need to package it. It's frowned upon if you say something straight. You say that it's like, I don't want to get into politics, modern day politics, because it's very applicable, right? But we all know that there are politicians who say things and people don't like them because of the way they say things. But the question that we need to ask, is this true? Not is this nice, not is this beautiful, not does this make me feel good. Is this true or is this not true? That needs to be the question. Yes?
So it says then if truth and beauty are both attributes of God, does one has to supersede the other? If it's true, you can.
No. We're not saying that truth and beauty can't be together. We're just saying it's unlikely. They're usually not together.
But then you don't want something to be beautiful?
What? No, you want it to be beautiful. Of course you want it to be beautiful.
But it has to be true.
You're right. But let me ask you a question, okay? Okay. Someone asks you for a favor. Can you help me? Right? And you know that you're short on time. You need to go because you're going to be late to your class, right? 7:30 is class and you're going to be late. But you want to be beautiful. You want to be nice. It's your new neighbor. You want to say, "Oh, sure, I'll help you, no problem." Right? And it's getting to that point. You really need to leave now, right? What's going to happen? What are you going to do?
Apologize?
Well, is that beautiful? No. You just offered to help me. You started helping me, and 3 minutes later you have to go, right? Guess what? But you understand? You're always going to get into that situation where this is the truth of what I need to do right now. Or, now again, I'm not getting into every situation in the world, but you could realize from that example, that's off the top of my head, that you get into a situation where it's like, but this is the truth, but it's not nice. But it's not. There's no way to package it nicely, right? That's the reality. Okay, so what's beautiful is not always pretty, and what's pretty is usually not usually not truth. Yes.
Can we say, sort of categorically, that you cannot outrun truth?
Yeah.
Eventually,
the truth will catch up to you. Correct. Well, hopefully, right?
At some point.
But if you,
because it's
So if
Because it takes a while.
you're making, like you said, a commitment, or you told somebody that you were going to do something and you started doing this thing.
Right.
So then what you really told that person may seem like the truth, but if you didn't complete what you said, that's
Right.
not true.
Okay, but Ken, but the person moves into their house at 3 o'clock, and you say, you know what, call me when you need help. They called you 10 minutes before you needed to leave, right? So it's like, this is when they called you, but now I can't, right? Because I have other obligations. So, like, you understand, the idea is that when you're hit with that truth, at bottom line, it's not always packageable with a nice bow on top. Okay? You can't always do it. Right? Sometimes the truth is the truth. And it's going to be difficult for you to accept it. Yes?
It's also exhausting to pretend that something is true.
Oh, so that's a very dangerous thing about people who live in lies, is that they have to remember, so you have to live a second life.
Yeah.
You have to remember all the extra files that you added, right, for all the untruths, right? And people who don't have truth as being there, someone who lives a truthful life doesn't have to worry about the other story.
That's right.
I have to remember the other story. And they don't have, all these secrets and all these hints and all these things. And everyone has to remember the little things, because everything is held on a lie, which is, by twigs held onto each other. Someone who's true doesn't have to worry like that. Okay. Oh, this is a very interesting story. My father, who is a man of truth, a man of real truth, that's his, I would say, is his primary trait. So he was once leaving one of his jobs. Is that he had given them notice that he was leaving the job. It's the last day, it's a Friday afternoon, and he's about to leave the office. So he walks into the boss's office. Says, "Do you have a minute?" And now the boss says, "Oh, okay, let's hear what he did." Right? And how much did you steal? He says, my father walks in. He says, "Okay, just tell me, how much did you steal?" Right? Like, he had no idea. My father says, "God forbid, I didn't steal anything, but I may have sent a private fax from the fax machine. From using the company's line. I may have, used a pencil, right? And it may have been in my briefcase or a paper, right? And I don't want to have to, because our sages tell us that for theft, we need to come back to this world, right? If a person steals and doesn't pay it back, they have to come back again, right? So my father says, "I would hate to come back as a pencil, right? because I stole a pencil. So please," he says, "Oh, it's just that, you can go, no problem." But we have to be so careful with truthfulness and honesty. But my father once hired this young guy. It was his first job. All right, so we're getting some advice here. We're getting some advice here from Malka Shifra, who's saying that you can tell when they lie when you ask them to retrace their claim backwards. It's actually true. What happened once with a story with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. A woman came and made a claim about she was divorced and she had a child. It was like a whole thing, a whole story. And Rabbi Feinstein listened to the story. He said, "Okay, one second, repeat the story again." And she repeated the story again, and different facts were in, different facts were out. And he said, "No, 1 second, repeat the story again," right? And after 3 or 4 times, the whole story fell apart. You see, it's very hard for someone who's lying to keep the same story, because they always have to make it more real, right? And it's a very good point, so thank you. But again, the idea is we're trying now not to try to make the world honest and truthful. We're trying to make ourselves honest and truthful. Okay, we're trying to bring truth to be our strength. So my father once hired this young guy just out of school. It was his first job, and he sent him out to go make sales. So after the first day, he comes back and he has all these like crazy numbers that he's So my father says to him, "1 second, what's going on over here? What are you telling people?" He was saying lies, flat out lies. He was promising things that he couldn't deliver. He was, saying things, selling them the Brooklyn Bridge, But he said, "What do you mean? It's business. It's business. You can do anything for business. Like business has this one big, umbrella. You can lie. Anything that falls into business. God forbid. It's a terrible thing. That was his first day was his last day, right? Absolutely not. That's not the way. That's not the way we. It's not the way we earn a living. It's not the way we do things, right? But here's an interesting statement from our sages. There are those who speak lies just to play with their imagination and reality. Think about that. Why do people lie? Right? To make a new reality. Right? It's like play games. Let's go down the road of imaginary, right? And they go fantasy, right? We create a fantasy life, a fantasy reality that's not really. It's not truthful. It's not real. That's not what it is.
What does the Torah say about puffing?
What is that?
Well, you go and you're selling, oh, this is the best car ever, and you're just...
Oh, puffing like that. Okay, yeah.
What does the Torah say about that? Is that allowed?
Well, here's the thing. You have to know what you're selling, and you have to be honest about it. All right? You have to be honest. It could be very true that for your situation, this might be the best option. Look, I have a good friend of mine. He sells a product that 100 other people sell. Right? But you know what he tells them? He's not the cheapest, so why would anyone buy from him? He said, and that's what he says. He says to them right when he walks in. He says he walks in the door. He says to them, "Listen, if you're looking for cheap, I'm not your guy. But if you're looking for the best customer service and for the best quality of work, I'm your guy. It's not going to be the cheapest." That's a very good solution, right? You can say, "Oh, we're going to be the best, we're going to be the cheapest, we're going to be the this, we're going to be that," and you don't come through on 90%. You may have been the cheapest, but it's not the best quality, and it's compromised, customer service, and it's compromised quality, right? That doesn't mean honesty, right? So yeah, a person, especially car salesmen, right, who have a reputation of not being so scrupulous and honest, right? They should probably, it might be a good idea for them to learn what the people need, and then try to sell them to what they need, right? And find the best option for them. Not, and that's what they say in most sales books. Don't try to. If you're going to try to cheat them and lie, you're going to be in this business for a very short time, right? Okay. Any questions so far?
Strong company.
Yeah.
One question I think you should ask is this sustainable?
Is what sustainable?
Whatever you're...
Well, truth is always sustainable.
I understand.
But falsehood will always collapse. It may not collapse now.
Right.
It may not collapse later, but in 10 years, in 20 years, or inside your soul, it may collapse, right? But what, again, you think of those frauds. You think of all those fraudsters, all those people who cheated other people, right? I guarantee you when they stole that first $100, they said, well, it's insignificant. No one's going to catch me, right? So right now, but eventually that whole house of cards will collapse, right? And it becomes, why? Because one leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, and the whole thing disappears at the end. What? Yeah, snowballs. Okay. One of the challenges that I've challenged the class in the past when we spoke about truth was to put down a list on your paper after class, okay, of the things that you know are true, but you're not there yet. Right? I'll give you an example. We've spoken many times about different mitzvahs, right? Tefillin, mezuzah, kosher, Shabbos. Is there anybody who has a doubt of the truth of those mitzvahs, of the importance of them, of God's commandment of them? Nobody has it. You have a doubt of it? Mm-hmm. Yeah? What's your doubt?
Well, as far as the kosher part, I believe it's more important what comes out of your mouth than what goes into it.
Well, a good indication of what's going to come out is by what goes in, right?
Well, I'm not sold on the idea.
Okay, so we can talk about that offline, but absolutely, it's critical. The Torah tells it to us in, I believe it's Leviticus 9 or Leviticus 10, about the importance of kosher, because what you eat is what you are, right? Which is why we don't eat from certain animals, that are aggressors, because that's not the trait that we want as Jews. Right?
But I mean, can you assume then that if someone's not keeping kosher, they're
No,
not being their best self? Or-
No, but I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that in the recommendation guide, in the manufacturer's guide of how to maximize life, known as the Torah, God says these are the keys, including what to eat.
I understand that
Right. You know, in a luxury car. In a luxury car, nobody tries to put the cheapest unleaded gas. Why? You can, if you want to, and go against Mr. Infinity's recommendations, but you know what? You're not going to maximize the pleasure of that driving machine, right? It's just not going to be good, right? The idea is that God says, listen, I created this engine, I'm telling you what to feed it with. Okay, but I don't think anybody has a question here. So, when we talk about truth, and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable here, but the idea is, what are the things that we know are a truth, but I'm just not there yet? It's a very big difference knowing that it's true, and I'm not there and I'm working up to it, versus negating the truth and saying, no, it doesn't exist for me. No, a person can't do that. When we talk about truth, we have to say, yes, this is the truth, and I'm working towards that truth. We're not saying that truth doesn't exist. Right? Are we good here? Are we good? I lose anybody? David, you with me still? Yeah. Just barely.
I'm with you, Dave. I'm with you.
Yeah, you might be, based on what you just said, yeah.
Now, when you say yet, it's like, so, like, give another example, like, okay, like,
Keeping
that
Shabbos.
Torah and Shabbos and tefillin, yeah, they're true. But, like...
So if I know that it's true, and that this is what's the right thing for me as a Jew to observe and to do, then am I living a truthful life by not? Okay? So now 1 second. That doesn't mean, okay, we finished the class, Rabbi Wolbe just spoke about truth, Susan, we're keeping Shabbos, okay? That's it, right? Because that's the truth, and boom, that's it, right?
It's usually
The other way around.
Why did I put it the other way around?
Imagine that.
Maybe about 80.
So-
He doesn't know that. Right?
Maybe about 100.
But here's the idea. The idea is that there's a big difference between, I'll give you an example, okay? What's the difference between a secular Israeli versus a secular American Jew? Okay?
One lives in the land.
No. Nothing to do with the land, okay?
They live in the land.
I'll tell you the difference. The difference is like this. I think the difference is a major perspective difference. Okay? Where you can have a typical secular Israeli, he may know about Kiddush, most likely does. He knows about Shabbos, he knows about kosher, he knows about Havdalah, he knows about tzitzit, he knows about tefillin, he knows about these things, and he has made a decision, or is lazy or whatever, not to keep it. But he's not denying the fact that it's there. He's not denying the truth of it. He made a decision not to. What happens in the diaspora, sadly, is where many people, number one, don't know about it, but then those who know about it are being told sometimes it's okay, it's not relevant, or it's not, which is a terrible thing. It is relevant. It absolutely is relevant, and it is important, and it is a commandment that God commands every single Jew, not only Jews who are fortunate enough to live in a religious home, but it's every Jew's obligation, right? If not to observe it, to learn about it, to know what it is. Most of the times, what's the most common question we get at these classes? Right? The most common question is, how come I never knew that? How come I never knew that? It's a question I get in almost every class. Rabbi, how come no one ever told me that? That's a terrible thing on our community, on our global Jewish community, that someone could be at my Shabbos table and say this is the first Shabbos table and they're 30 years old. Right? That's not good on our community. That means we're not doing our job. Right? Okay, so now someone gets introduced to it, someone learns about it, but now they have to see 1 second. If this is really true, and I did this when I was 16 years old. I was in yeshiva in Israel, and I realized I was operating in robot mode, right? I was putting on tefillin every morning. I was keeping kosher. I was keeping Shabbos like a robot, right? It's on schedule. This is the way we grew up, and this is the way we live, and this is what we do, and not questioning. And I said, 1 second, why am I doing this? Now, I didn't, God forbid, stop. But I said, I need to invest time in understanding why I'm doing these things. So I'm not just putting it on, not knowing why I'm putting on my tefillin. I'm not wearing tzitzit, right, just because I'm wearing tzitzit. I know why I'm wearing tzitzit. And learn the reasons behind it. Learn the commandments. At least read the words to know that it really exists. That it's my mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah that I got, as an inheritance. It's my mitzvah. And by the way, the Torah doesn't belong to the rabbis. The Torah doesn't belong to Torch. The Torah doesn't belong to the congregations. The Torah belongs to each and every one of you. Torat Emet Natan. The Torah is called Emet. The Torah doesn't say, well, if you're a Jew who grew up like this in Houston, Texas, then it's not applicable. Right? The Torah doesn't say that. Right? Emet doesn't have flexibility in that sense. Now, we do understand that if a person grew up without it, then the person is learning, and the person is in a process of growth. But that's what it's all about. That's what Torch is all about, is to encourage Jews to grow, to take their own step. We're not going to tell people what to do, but what we are going to encourage is that every person takes a step in their growth, in their connection to God. And that's very, very important to every single Jew. And that we feel we'd be failing our community if we didn't do that. Right? It's not enough for people to have a nice experience, but the people to be inspired to grow, and inspired to change, and inspired to take something new into their life that they didn't have yesterday. Yes?
Well, it's kind of comforting in a way to know that we don't know all the truth, as human beings.
Well, guess what? That's why we have students learning in yeshiva day and night. What are they seeking? Truth. That's it. All they want is truth, which is why they're not going to stop studying Torah till they get to the bottom line truth. That's what we want. We want truth. Nothing but the truth. Yes?
So explain to me, I'm 55 years old and I never knew about people getting together for a Shabbos meal. 55 years I didn't know that. Who's responsible? Am I supposed to know that by myself?
You know what?
Somebody's supposed to teach.
Okay. So I'll tell you. The question you're asking, you're saying you're 55 years old, you came to your first Shabbos dinner, you had no idea that such a thing existed.
Right. I did.
Right. Okay.
And I was born, in Judaism.
Okay. And I'm honored that Shabbos dinner was at my house.
Probably. Yeah.
Right. And I really am.
The
question is,
learn that?
Okay, you're 100% right. The question is, if we want to point fingers, I can give you 100 people to point fingers at.
I don't want to point.
We don't want to point fingers at anyone. We want to just say, okay, given the challenge that I have today, how am I going to make it that between today and the end of my life, whenever that will be, I will maximize my Jewish experience. Maximize. In the best way I can. Not in the most comfortable way that I'm okay with now, but rather in the best way that I possibly can. Right? And that's a question only you can answer. But you have to be, again, that's where truth again comes in. And truth is not something, it's not going to be beautiful. It's not necessarily going to be pleasant, right? But that's the truth. Right? Now, I don't want to scare anybody off. I see a few people got off Facebook. They ran away, right? But Bobby's still here, so thank you, Bobby.
It's a tough subject.
It is. Truth is not an easy one. Truth is not an easy one. I want to share with you a few stories. This will lighten it up a little, okay? I don't want to get so gloomy. Come on, David, smile. Okay, good.
We can't handle the truth.
All right, so I'll just share with you a few stories. There's a story, this has to do with Shabbos too. It's an amazing story. I heard this from Rabbi Pesach Krohn. This is an incredible story. That there was a man whose wife went into labor on Shabbos, and on Shabbos, the only time that a person is required to desecrate the Shabbos is to save a life. And when a woman is in labor, it's a life-threatening circumstance, and he's obligated to do whatever is necessary. So he gets his wife into the car and he drives her to the hospital where her doctor is in Manhattan, from Brooklyn, New York. And anybody who knows, you go from Brooklyn to Manhattan through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. And he goes through the tunnel. The problem is he forgot, because before they had Easy Pass and anything, he doesn't have his money, right? Because he can carry his wallet with him on Shabbos, right? It's Shabbos evening, right? And he has to drive his wife. So he tells the man at the toll booth, he says, "I'm sorry, sir, I'm an Orthodox Jew, and it's Shabbos. My wife is in labor, and I can't carry money with me. But right after Shabbos, I will come back and pay you for the toll." And he says, "Sure, no problem." So he goes. His wife has the baby, and after Shabbos, he gets money, and he heads back to Brooklyn. And at the toll booth, he stops and he gives double the money. So the teller at the toll booth says, "Boy or girl?" So he says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "They said that an Orthodox Jew said that his wife is in labor, and he's going to come back to pay. So we're all waiting to hear, is it a boy or a girl? Because we knew that someone who's God-fearing would come back indeed and pay." So we just wanted to know that. I think that's an idea. What it means to be truthful. I saw the story here, and I heard it in another couple of different sources on different people. But there was a new rabbi who I heard about, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, but the same exact story about a different rabbi. The rabbi was new in town, and it was his third day. He didn't have his car yet from the city that he moved from, and he was taking public transportation. So the bus driver, he paid him for the fare, and then he looks at his change and he sees after he sits down that he got an extra 25 cents. So he goes back to the bus driver and he says to him, "Sir, you gave me an extra 25 cents. See," he said, "you passed the test." This is, "What do you mean?" He said, "I heard that there was a new rabbi in town, and I wanted to check out, is this rabbi real? Right? I wanted to see if this rabbi is real." He says, "You passed the test." He says, "But you didn't even know me." He says, "That's exactly the idea. I don't need to know you, right? But I know that you're truthful and you're honest, and that's the right way to be." Someone once came to Rabbi Schwab of blessed memory, whose book we have right here in the Parsha, unbelievable, Rav Schwab on Chumash, in the Parsha shelf at the New Torch Library, and so Rav Schwab, I had to plug it. Come on. So someone once came to Rav Schwab and said, I need to ask a question about someone who has a cash business." He says, "1 second. There's a Torah Jew who's in a cash business?" He stopped him right there. He said, "How can a Shomer Shabbos Jew, how can a Torah observant Jew, someone who's God fearing, run a cash business? A cash business doesn't pay taxes because it's all cash, right?" He said, "A God fearing Jew doesn't work in a cash business, right?" He stopped him right there in the middle of his question. I don't want to hear the question. Right, you can't be in such a business where you can right. You understand it to our sages, honesty and truthfulness is not a luxury; it's a necessity. Right? It's not, well, if I'm in the mood and if I can afford it, then I'll be honest on my taxes. So if I can, that's not the way it works. And it's interesting that this honesty is usually linked with a grave desecration of God's name, while honesty is often associated with the glorification of God's name. When people are honest, when people are truthful, there's a glorification of God's name. People see, wow, this person is honest. This person is truthful. And when someone is dishonest, it feels like, oh, what a disgusting person, right? And it brings a desecration of God's name. We have so.
It the expression "honest to God," which people say all the time.
Well, there you go. That's right. I didn't even think about that. Right? So no. So
He says, "Let me be perfectly frank." Sure.
Minimum white lines.
Oh, so Bobby Asarch is telling us that she's in Cashiers, North Carolina now, and she's so happy that she can join us on Facebook. Isn't that nice? I want, please, if you do me a favor, you can, if you like the class, you can like it on Facebook. But even if you don't like it, at least share it with other people so they can enjoy it. Because it's interesting. The only people who can see this online right now are people who are connected to me. But when you share it, all of your connections can see it. Right? So imagine all 10 of us here in the room, or 11 of us here in the room, right, can share it. It goes to so many more people, right? And more people can learn Torah. Okay, now, so one of the students of Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, who was a great mashgiach in Panovich, also back in the Mir Yeshiva, Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, okay? And one of his students came to him and said, I want to know how to work on not exaggerating, minimizing my exaggerations. He says, you mean lying? Right? People put a nice word to it. Oh, it's exaggerating, it's embellishing. Is it true or not? Right? He considered it to be now there's also, it was told about about the same Reb Chatzkel, that by his funeral he asked in his will that nobody say anything that isn't true. Because people it's a funeral, he was such a great man. Suddenly, right, there we go. He says, don't embellish not even one word. Not even, as my grandfather also writes in his will, don't even call me, not even call me Harav. I think not even Harav. Don't even call me Rabbi. Right? Here is buried such and such, the son of such and such. Not even Zatzal. Don't even write Zecher Tzadik Levracha, which is the memory of the righteous for a blessing. Right? Don't even add that after my name. Why? Because it says that the eulogy, because again, now a person is here in this world, the world of doing, the world of action, the world, but what's in the world, what's the world to come? What is that called? You know what that world is called? Olam HaEmet, the world of truth. So you know what happens? So the soul, so the body is getting buried, the soul is elevated all the way up into the heavens, right? We're in the world of truth now. Okay? We're in the world of truth. And now they say, oh, so what did you do? You're like, I was fairly decent. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't kill any cats. I was a good person, God says, really? You say you were a good person? Were you honest? Like we said, that they're going to ask you, were you honest? Oh, you know how honest I was. I was so honest. God says, okay, let's listen to the eulogies that they're making for you right now on earth. Let's listen to those eulogies. And they pull the mic from down at the eulogy, and they're saying, oh, he was so righteous. He was so great. And God's going to be like, this is what you sold them? Right? Right? You sold them this lie. You sold them that you're so great and that you never said this and you never said that. And you faked them your whole life. So you lived a life of lies.
So what are you supposed to go up there?
Oh, no, God forbid. No, what a person needs to do is make sure that in this world, they're living an honest life.
I've never heard a eulogy when somebody would go up there and say, this guy was a real a-hole.
Right. Well, you know what?
What about you? You've given a eulogy?
Yes, but you have to make sure that the eulogy is truthful. There's always, every person has qualities. You have to find the quality and share only the qualities and the truth. Nothing, don't embellish. My grandfather didn't want any eulogies to begin with. My grandfather didn't want any eulogies. He says, because you're held at the standard of the eulogy. So if you say something which isn't true, up there you're held accountable.
Okay.
All right? It's a very serious thing.
But it's the things that are true that you're not saying.
He might prefer to leave them out, right? so that he isn't held to that account. That perhaps he's You know the famous NFL wide receiver who says, "This is my story, and I'm sticking with it." Right? That doesn't bode well on the truth. Right? If a person, right? I don't remember what it was. You can search it online. That was a famous quote, the famous phrase that was said. This is my truth, and I'm sticking with it.
That was a country and western song.
Yeah. Well. Again, the truth. It doesn't. It's not. People. I've heard this phrase said a lot. Well, everyone has their own truth. You heard that? Everyone has their own truth. Well, to a degree that is true. To a degree that's true, that every person really does have their own truth, and every person does have a truth that they need to live with. Okay, because every person has different qualities and different flaws. And every person needs to utilize those qualities and flaws to the best of their capability. That's different to every different person. Right? So every person's truth in that sense is different. And every person's, by the way, I want you to know something. We mentioned before different things that we know are truth, but we're not there yet. That's part of the step of getting to that truth. Is that, yeah, I know that the truth is this. I'm hoping to get there one day. Right? Right now, I'm not there yet. So what are the steps what are the concrete steps I'm going to take to get there? If I know it's the truth, do I want to live with truth, or do I want to live being blind to the truth? All right? And that's something that it's like, the big challenge that people have with truth is when you're going online to an El Al flight. And they say, did you pack the bags yourself? Did you bring anything? Do you transporting anything to give to a friend or to give to someone else? Right? Is there anybody here who has ever packed their bags and not brought anything for anybody else? Right? Ever? No, of course not. We all bring something. You're bringing something for a friend. You're bringing something for this, right? And but I know someone a rabbi who was teaching in one of the yeshivas that I was in. He said this story. He said from that point on, he made that an exception where he doesn't need to tell them that. Right? The answer to that doesn't need to be truthful. Well, it does need to be truthful, but he felt that, he said once, yes, I actually bought something for my son. I bought him a toy. They took apart all his bags. He missed the flight. Right? Obviously, why are they asking the question? They're asking the question because they want to know if you have a bomb in there, right? They're not asking to know if you have a birthday card in there, right? So, So there's a limit. And plus, you see the guy's a rabbi. You see he's a rabbi. What do you think? He's lying to you, right? He's like, no, I'm not going to lie to you, right? But again, it's a big problem because what are you going to do? They're going to take away. They're going to take your bags and put everything through the why? Because they decided that I don't know. Again, I'm not encouraging anyone to be dishonest, especially not when flying to Israel, because they will catch you. Either way, that a person needs to make sure that they don't hold someone else to a truth they don't hold themselves to. That means if you're demanding someone else to be at a certain place, we're demanding to be at a certain standard, and you're not even there at that standard, that's a problem. A person has to know that they are holding themselves accountable to the same standards they're holding other people accountable to. Think about it for a second. Right? Now, I've mentioned this numerous times. I said, I'm on this journey with you. These classes, these Mussar Mondays, this is just a disclaimer again for those of you who may not have been at the introductions. This is the disclaimer that I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect in any of these traits that we're talking about. It's a discovery together that we're doing in learning and understanding the traits of Hashem. Someone once came to my grandfather and said, can I give a shmooze, a discourse to my students on a trait that I don't possess? My grandfather said, that's lying. Right? You're telling them, this is what you should be doing, this is the way you should conduct yourself, and you yourself aren't there. Right? That's lying. That's being two-faced. That's not honesty. Right? A person, you can't expect from your children something that you yourself don't hold yourself to. So, we'll stop here. There's still a lot to talk about it, but we're well over time. Let's hope and pray that everything we do is truthful, and that in the world of truth, when we arrive there, hopefully at 120, we won't have any discrepancies between the life we lived and the life we told people we are. Right? And so we're just going to give a few minutes now for those here in the class. Those who are not, again, if you want one of the meter worksheets, you're welcome to email me at awolbe@torchweb.org, torchweb.org. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this class, please like, and if you didn't, share it anyway. Right? Thank you, and have a good night, everybody. Thank you.